this notion in America, oftentimes when you have the conversation about race, the framing is that if you are white in the discussion, you are wrong, you're guilty, and if you're black in the conversation, you are the victim of the circumstance. So how do you move forward in the conversation if that is the stance that people come to it from? And then Mary, feel free to weigh in because I saw you shaking your head later on.
Okay. I think we need to leave our assumptions at the door because you don't know. You don't know what is in the heart of an individual. You don't know them. If you see someone walking on the side of the road, tip your hat, say hi to them. You don't know them, you can't judge them. We're not supposed to judge, first off. So we leave our assumptions at the door. That honestly is how we got to do this. We got to leave the assumptions at the door and just listen. That's the problem. We don't listen. And everything that we do in our modern day society, the one thing that we do not listen is one thing we don't do is listen. We don't listen to God. We don't listen to our fellow human persons. We're constantly stuck on our phones or our technology or everything else instead of just sitting down with someone and having a cup of tea. You know, I went to Morocco a couple years ago, and whenever I was in Morocco, you know, I saw something completely different that I'd never seen in my life. I went to a bazaar and I bought me a jalaba, and the gentleman there was the nicest guy I've ever met in my life, and he asked me if I'd like to sit down and have tea with him. Okay, now picture this small South Carolina boy, okay, from the backwoods country, you know, sitting in Morocco, and he says, do you want to sit down and have tea? Well, I'm like, okay, sure, why not? You know, I have nothing to lose. I sat down with him, and I had a conversation. And that's what we have to do. We have to sit down. We have to have a conversation. We have to be that around tea or coffee, your preference, of course, or beer, you know, for whiskey lovers, you know, whatever floats your boat. But we have to have those conversations. But we have to leave the assumptions at the door first.
Daniel?
My family's West Indian, so I prefer to do it over tea. So
okay, I can do that.
No, on a serious note, I agree with them. I think, you know, my family immigrated here in the 70s. My father joined the United States Army, was a United States Army Ranger, moved my family and I to Italy. You know, I've been all over the world, and I think that in one word to sum up and answer your question is exposure. You know, a lot of people in the South have never left the South, right? And that's not to knock anybody that lives in the South. It's about exposure. A lot of kids in Southwest Atlanta have never gone to an area besides the King Center. So I think, to Adam's point, you know, for me, if I didn't live in, I'm sorry.
I could take you to South Boston and some folk who've never left.
Well, there you go. I mean, and you're right, because, you know, quiet as kept, racism exists everywhere. You know, it's institutional up north. It's more prevalent, more in your face in the South, right? But I think when you're exposed to something, it gives you that opportunity. And I'll give you a quick example. When I was running for office in Forsyth County, I was driving up Lake Lanier, and I saw a Donald Trump sign, and I saw my sign. And it freaked me out because, you know, obviously, I mean, I didn't support Trump, but I knocked on their door and I asked them. And we ended up having a 2-hour conversation because two people that seemingly, for how it looked at the outside, we had nothing in common. But once we started having a conversation, everything about our conversation, we may not have all the way agreed, but we found out that we had more in common than we had against each other. And it was because instead of, like you said earlier, Mary Pat, instead of watching, you know, your news network of choice, going to sleep with it, waking up, watching it, talking about it at work, social media, blogging it, you've got to get from behind the computer screen, get out in your community, knock on your neighbor's door, and let's get to know each other rather than assume we know what a person's going through.
And as we begin to run...
Now we must act. Use the hashtag #Let'sBridge. We welcome your donations to the King Center on our Facebook page or dreamforwardfund.org. That's dreamforwardfund.org. We also give special thanks to our sponsor, the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Special thanks to our partner, the Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council. Let's bridge young people this summer with Camp Now. For more information, visit us at choosenonviolence.org.